Good morning. You tuned into another video of the Gratitude Series. This is day 2 of the Gratitude Series where I'm doing video requests for advice on different topics with music production and all that stuff. So if you want to, leave a comment below if you want like your question answered or hit me up in an email, which is in the description. I'm not going to type it up this time. I'm going to keep things rolling. And today's video answers a question, and shout out to the first person that asked me a question. Damar, shout out to you, Damar. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and ask me some questions. And today's topic is about procrastination. Oh my gosh, I messed up my words this morning, but I'm not going to edit it out. I'm going to keep going. Today's topic is procrastination. A lot of musicians deal with this, a lot of producers deal with this, a lot of creatives deal with this. And what we're going to do is talk about that and what's going on. First, I want to talk about maybe the reasons why we procrastinate as creatives, and then some ways to address it to move it forward. Okay. So, why do we procrastinate? I think a lot of times the reason we procrastinate is because we fear the outcome. We think that people aren't going to like what we make. We're not going to get streams. We're not going to get recognized. That could be a fear. Or the fear could be is that's just not good enough. And we have to break that down because a lot of times all these thoughts and behaviors are learned. We learn this from experience and dealing with other things. And we also sometimes learn this from the people that we deal with. Sometimes there are people who in our lives who are close to us who never really showed really the type of appreciation or approval that you'd like to see from them. And what happens is that if you deal with years of this, now you're kind of internalizing it and now showing it back to yourself. Or you think that maybe you don't want to make a YouTube video because it's not going to get the views of other views or other videos that you've got. Or maybe you might mess up a word or two and then you don't look as like that professional person who has everything super perfect on another video. And the thing is that one of the things you got to do to overcome your procrastination is to really address what your fears are. What is your fear are? Fear is you'd be surprised by the result. And I'm talking to this from a music producer perspective because a music producer and artist asked me this, so I'm going to try and answer it in the context of a music producer. The person who uploads a beat on YouTube is further than the person who has 100 bangers sitting on their hard drive. The person who uploads one track to BeatStars or any platform, and you don't have to, or even on Soundcloud, if you finish that and do that, you're ahead of the person who is a perfectionist, who wants to take a time to determine for everybody ahead of the fact of what they're going to think about the track. The thing is, it's like when you're dealing with procrastination and putting your music out or getting the beat done or something like that, is we make the mistake of deciding how the person feels about what we do before we even take a time to even give them a chance to decide for themselves. So this falls into narcissism world where we want to be more in control. See, the thing is when you put your music out there, and I'll be the first to tell you, I know this feeling myself. When you put your beat out there on these platforms, you are now giving up control. See, FL Studio, MPC, all these music platforms that we use are under our control. We learn it. We understand it. It has a certain set of rules. We learn those rules. We learn how it all works. And then now we have power over it. And that's a good place to be. That's a nice town to live in. We don't want to move out. We got good real estate there. And we're gonna stay in control town because we're in control. But the problem is that now when you transition from your world of control, your studio, your platform, your laptop, your computer, and you put it out there, now you're losing control. And not being in control is uncomfortable because now you can't hit a button to get the result you want. Now it's up to someone else to respond in the way that you want to respond. And these people in this industry and this platform and all the TikToks and the Twitters and the Instagram, all of that stuff it's not as simple as just hitting a button, knowing that there's a kick drum on that button and hearing it, or hitting another button and knowing there's a snare on that button and hearing that snare. Now it's you put it out there, you want people to see it, and now you're not getting the views that you think you should, or the engagement that you think you should, or the sale that you think you should off rip. But let me tell you that the truth is that you don't get to know ahead of time. And even I struggle with this, and I'm facing these challenges myself. You don't get to know ahead of time how people are going to respond. You don't get to know ahead of time if people are going to listen to it or not. You really don't know. You don't get to know. But the problem is that we spend so much time knowing our plugins. We spend so much time knowing our platform. We spend so much time knowing how this loop's going to go and knowing how that loop's going to go. And we also know that if we don't know how the loop's going to go, we could just slide it in there, put that in there, check it out, and enjoy it, and see if we like it. If we don't like that outcome with that loop being in that track, guess what? We could take it right off. If you don't like how that kick drum sounds on the beat, we could take it right off. But when you're putting it on YouTube, when you're starting a beat channel on YouTube, or you're starting a BeatStars journey, or you're starting any type of journey where you're trying to create a catalog of tracks to sell to other clients, it's now out of your control. Now you could hustle. There's still hustle. There's stuff that you could do to create an environment that amplifies itself, but there's still the other side of it not being in control. But you're more likely to succeed if you live in that environment of uncontrol by doing things that you're supposed to do and not procrastinating by it. That's what goes back to the whole procrastination thing. Procrastination can come between you having no income from your tracks to you getting some income and some results or some streams, because now you're in the environment where something can happen. It is better to be in an environment where something positive that can happen without you knowing ahead of time versus you staying in an environment where you know what's going to happen. It's always going to be that way. You don't develop and grow. You don't develop and learn. You don't develop and become a better producer in this context or artist or anything by staying in an environment of comfort. You really have to go and try things. So another thing to think about is that time is very short. Time is a lot shorter than we know. And this year's done. What did you do that you couldn't have done in 2020? What didn't you do in 2021 that you couldn't have done in 2019, 2018? Those were all years, too, that we could use to get stuff done, right? So time is very precious. And if you can create a schedule, do that. It's okay to create a schedule. It's okay to create something that can help you move forward and create and take it seriously. Move with a little bit of urgency. And that's how you deal with some procrastination. Procrastination is a very big thing, but don't let that be your don't let that be your definition, or let it define you moving forward. I understand taking a break, but really try to take time to look into what are your fears are. I think a lot of procrastination comes from fear or lack of interest. It's one of those two things, and you have to take time to analyze and say, what am I afraid of? What is it that I don't like about what could happen if I do this thing, right? So that was another video. If you want your questions or comments answered or advised, please feel free to hit me up in there. This is another video. This is episode 2 or day 2 of the Gratitude series. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. I'm about to get ready and go to these gigs. I'm gone.